Welcome back to my channel, Margaret Knob Designs. I have a project today. It is the Plaid Pumpkin Patch collection from Country Craft Creations, and this is going to be an 8x8 mini album using the 8x8 collection pad from Country Craft Creations. Now I've started this and I have gone through and gotten some of the basics done inside, but that's going to follow after this. I don't have this project completely done to show you a walkthrough right now today before we begin, but so you can see the outside of it. This is what it looks like, and we will build this together, and then I will do a walkthrough at the end showing you all the ins and outs of the papers and the collection. I just didn't have an opportunity to get this done ahead of time to put in before the construction of the album. So I will see you in a little bit and we'll get started on this album with the pumpkin plaid, what is it, Plaid Pumpkin Patch. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That's what I feel like. So anyways, I'll see you in a little bit. Bye. Hi crafters, welcome back to my channel. As I promised, I was going to do a mini album with my Plaid Pumpkin Patch paper from Country Craft Creations. It's an exclusive collection to Tamara's store. I know that she is putting some of these collections into a couple stores, but not many out there. So really the place to get it is at Country Craft Creations. So what I wanted to do today is I'm using my 8x8 collection, and I have worked on doing a mini album that is 8 3/8 by 8 3/8. And I went ahead and I started to do some of the other putting everything together. What I will do is I will put down in the comments below a link to the video about putting the cover together, and also a link below will be about putting hinges in your mini album, so you don't have to watch and go through all of that. So let me go through and tell you what I've done. The measurements on this album is 8 3/8 by 8 3/8, and in that mini album cover for the chipboard, so I cut, this is actually a thin chipboard that I used for this one. You can see it's a little bit more bendable, but it'll become even more solid as I put everything together. So what I did was I took the 8 3/8 by 8 3/8, and what I covered it with is I covered it with the brown cardstock, and I cut the brown cardstock to 10 3/8 by 10 3/8. That way when we wrapped it around, there was 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side, 1 here and 1 there. So that I did for both covers. And then for this centerpiece, I covered everything over with a piece of cardstock that was 5 inches by 5 inches, let me just check again, 5 inches by 10 3/8. And the reason for the 5 inches is to give us a little bit more room over here. And then to create this spine, I have 3 hinges on this spine, and I cut this spine piece also as 5 inches by 8 1/4, so that it butted up right to the edge of the piece. And these hinges are scored at 1/2 inch each, so there is going across 5 inches worth of scores. So the next thing too is our spine is 2 inches. I wanted to make this book a little bit smaller. So for directions on how to do all of this and folding it, please go to the link below for putting together an album. So the next step that I did was I double matted the top of this this scrapbook or mini album. And what I did, because my covers are 8 3/8 by 8 3/8, I cut the craft cardstock, and I cut the craft cardstock by 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And I did that same cut for the craft on here as well as the craft on the inside. And then I came back with my pattern paper, and I wanted to again just use this paper that I used on my boxes too, only in the 8 by 8. And so I cut nothing off of this. I made this, use the paper just as it was, 8 by 8, and put that down there. And I did the same thing for the back cover. Exactly what I did in the front is what I did in the back. And I like to frequently pick out my cover pattern papers before I even want to do my inside. For some reason, it's just always important. I want to see that what's on the outside is some of the papers that I like the most or make the most sense to me. So then on the spine here, because our spine is 2 inches, with the way that we put together this this spine or this booklet itself, I usually cut my first layer of cardstock. Our spine is 2 inches, so I usually cut that at 2 inches, my first layer. This is double matted as well. So this is 2 inches by 8 1/8. Let me just make sure. Oh, let's see. Yep. No, it's 2 inches by 8 1/4. I apologize. 2 inches by 8 1/4. And then I took the pattern paper piece and I made that 1 7/8 by 8 and was put down on the spine. Now you can pick whatever colors or collections that you wanted to go. I wanted to bring out some of this orange or rusty tones in here. And then we're going to go ahead and put our pattern papers together. I mean, our pattern papers on the rest of this. So I'm going to leave this be till we get into getting our pages in here. So what I ended up doing is I cut the paper for my hinges, and I used the brown, and I cut one of there's 3 pages, so you're going to need to cut 3 of each of these. So this is 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. So that is one sheet. You're going to cut that 3 times that way because you've got 3 pages. So 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. And then for this other page, it's going to help make us, you know, a pocket page on this. We want to cut this 9 1/8 by 8 1/8. And then we're going to score a 1/2 inch at the top and the bottom. So we need to make this page 1 inch bigger. So again, it's 8 1/8 by 9 1/8. And you're going to need to cut that 3 times. So 2, 3, I've got them just put in here together. Now you can do a couple different things when you're putting these pages together. You can put them together, you know, simply just like this. If I did that though, I'd probably have to cut just a sliver off so that it would fit okay in here. Or you can put them together so that the pages match up right along the top here. And I think that's what I may be doing for my pages. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to glue them along here. Plus, the other thing, before I glue them, I am going to miter my corners on all of this. This will help get it on the spines a little bit easier. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I will come back to you. Thank you. Alrighty, so what I've got done here is I've got my pages put together, and we've got them, as I've heard Scrap Queen say, our tunnels, and we'll end up putting inserts into that as well. And then this side will go on to our hinges in the book. Now this is a little bit of a tight fit, and when I say a tight fit, it's just a tight fit to the cover, meaning we want to try to make those even on our hinges as well as on, hopefully you can see all that and I'm not hiding it. I usually like to put the hinges on and then lay it down. Sorry. Lay it down so that I can move those around just a little bit so that we can get our pages straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on here on both sides of this. I don't like to put tape on it. The reason why is because I don't feel like I get any time to wiggle the pages at all. And in order to get them on and set properly, I need a little bit of wiggle room on these when I set them onto my hinges. The other thing is that I also like glue better than the tape because of I believe that the glue sets the paper and lasts a lot longer on our hinges than tape ever will. So we're going to get those down, and then I'm going to take and put this down in here and make sure that I get my pages even here, even if they're close to the top on this, but just as long as I have the same distance here and the same distance here will help me to get my pages on properly. And I want to keep them slightly away from the hinge itself so that I can bend the hinge going back and forth. So I'm going to clean up that glue a little bit, and then let's go ahead and get our other hinge on, or other page on here. So put that down. The one thing with the darker cardstock with black or with the brown is you've got to try to wipe up any of that glue as soon as possible so that it doesn't mark the paper. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So let's see if we can get that so that it's even. Even on our pages. And that's often why I use a wipe when I push this down, so that I can go ahead and try to clean as much of that glue that might be showing off right away. Alrighty. And just as a note is on my mini album, because this is the Artisan Cardstock, I have burnished this back and forth many different times because I want to continue to work on it so that it remains to be bendable. Get the other side. Then after we're done with this, what we're going to do is start working on putting our pages together and putting on the additional embellishments and the papers and the flips and flaps and everything. So one of the things that is important is trying to get this as even as possible in our book. I'm not always perfect on it. This one seemed to turn out very good, so I'm very happy with that. It doesn't always. Sometimes I am a little crooked, but hallelujah, that was my Christmas gift, that it's all even. So then we've got our pages in, and it looks like this, and we can do our decorations. Something that I do too is I continue to bend as I go so that I can make sure that this is a very flexible book for putting my pages and everything in. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with the pages yet, so I've got to work on that a little bit. I've got a couple ideas for some of the pages, and I'm going to use most of the pages flat down with my 8x8s, and this is one that I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, but I want to put this down so that we can look at the paper, and we also can have a spot to do some embellishing. So that's one idea that I had. I want to put some shutter doors, I believe in, or gatefold doors, but we'll see what that is when I come back, and we'll put that together. And then once we've got our pages down, we're going to end up putting our cardstock, or not cardstock, but our pattern paper on it. Alrighty, so I'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Thanks. Bye. Hi, crafters. Well, it's been a couple days since I've worked on this, and probably just a couple seconds for you. So I'd like to go over some of the things that I'm going to be doing for this album. And I don't remember 100% if I talked about this. I probably could go back and look, but I'm not going to. So I added three inserts in here, and I punched along with one of my punches from EK Success. This is the one that I used, and I used this one because I thought that a lot of these small pieces were more protected by being inside. So this measures, actually it measures 7 7/8 and by 7 7/8. That's how that matches, and it'll depend upon really how you glued your pages in. You may have to make that a little smaller, a little bigger, depending upon actually how you glued everything in. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I want to start, there's a couple ideas I have for pages, and the first one is I want to put on here this shutter doors, and then I'm going to put something in the back. But I usually, when I do this kind of a gatefold, I like to tape it together or cut the whole piece out, cut it in half, and then I usually cut a little bit off, but like to cut that or put that in as well. But before I do that, I'd like to take, I'm going to, instead of using magnets, I'd like to put this down with this lace, and that I have, or I got from Country Craft Creations. So let me just mark this off. And so we get to the center of that, or at least somewhat the center. I often find that when I do this, what I think is the center is not always the case. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of this score tape. Okay, there it is. Put that along here. And another little piece. Along. Sorry for my head. I apologize. Didn't even think of it until all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I think my big head is in the way. All right. So what I did with this originally, or a couple days ago, I took the ribbon and on one end I put fray check. So I cut that off and I put fray check on it so it wouldn't fray. Not too concerned about inside the book because we're going to end up covering that up anyways. Same thing on this end, I used fray check. And we're also putting it underneath the cardstock for the gatefold, so that'll give us a little bit more durability for it not ripping our designer papers. So we'll leave that to the side. And then what I'd like to do is go ahead and put our gatefold in. And this measures this measures 8. So basically it's 9 because we scored a 1/2 inch on either side. So what I did is that I scored on either side and a 1/2 inch. So then that made that my frames for attaching, or hinges for attaching. And then I put it on my cutter and I just cut the page in half. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line this up with my my page here right to the end of that page, and or maybe at 1/16 away. And I'm not going to miter those just because I want to, from a side view, have it be a little bit more of a clean oh, you know what? It's always that way, isn't it? I should run a contest to see how many times I can start a video and not have my glue work. I gotta remember to, I don't always remember to get it going before I get started, so that's my fault. Hope everybody is getting ready for the holiday season and you are looking forward to spending time with family or with friends. All right, so I'm going to try to get that on pretty straight and careful on this side. It's about 1/16 of an inch away. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I knew I had enough here so that I wouldn't be going over, because you don't want to go over that side of by your hinge, because it will end up causing you to have problems with your page opening and closing. So we're going to put this down. Make sure we're even top and bottom. So what we're going to do is to be able to, I think it'll either be a small knot or a bow, a small bow or a small knot. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to tie that. I may even use a chipboard piece in the middle, but for now that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to take that off for now. And then underneath I'm going to end up putting in, actually we can just go ahead and do that. Do you want to help me pick out some paper that we want in there? What I want to do down on the bottom here is to just leave it as an open frame in there. So look at that. Surprise, surprise. So what I was thinking about doing was putting pockets on this side and then putting our designer paper down there. Where did I put my collection? Oh, tonight my desk is really a mess. So if you're looking at it going, how in the world? Yeah, that's what happens when I'm creating sometimes. I just, I get going and I get going. It's just the way it is. So we could do something like this in the middle. Nice picture, or we could go ahead and do something like, with the plaid. Actually, what I was thinking about might work is if I do use this one for either side here because of the way that the horizontal fit on it. The only thing that I'm not going to like is my pocket. Maybe I'll make this a lower pocket. Huh. Or maybe I'll put this on this side and this on this side. They won't match up exactly, but that would be better. So then I don't cover up my truck here. So that works for that. I was thinking of another pattern. Let's just see which one we like better. There's one other one. No, I'm using that for something else. I thought about using this possibly, but let's look at one thing before I go there. Is I want to see what this one looks like next to that. I think it works. There's the lavender that comes out in there, but let's see what this looks like. You know, I think I'm going to use this one. I actually kind of like this one a little bit better, but what I like about this one is the fact that it leaves us spots for photos in there, or it seems more that I could put a large photo in there, or maybe even a framed photo in there might look nice. So that, and there's the design of the paper. So I think that's what we're gonna do in there. And I'm gonna put this one back and away. And I'm just gonna leave that. And I'll show you what it looks like when we come back. But there is another idea that I had. I've never done it before, but I thought I would try it out. And what I was thinking about doing was taking and putting these flaps. This is 4, I believe this is by 7. It's actually 7 1/4, 7 3/8. It's actually 7 3/8. And I just use these as scraps. And what I was thinking about doing is leaving it so that I can put on here a 4 by 6 photo. So it's 4 inches here, but then what I would do is possibly put some pattern paper along here, then a mat over here, and then do another flap on this side, and maybe that I would do pattern paper along here on this flap. So kind of changing them or moving them around. But each of these flaps, because our book is a little bit bigger than our pages, I thought we could get these all on, and then, yeah, I have to move that over a little. Don't want them sitting on top of each other, but I want them even, so that the edge over here is even with this edge. So I think it's like a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue these in, and I think it's going to take me a little while to make sure I have everything straight. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to turn the sound off and just speed this up a little bit, because otherwise I think it might be painful watching me do this. At least it would be for me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this, and you can see, hopefully I'm in frame for you to see that. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. Okay, you saw me turn that off. So I just want to show you what I decided I'm going to do is I'm taking this last one and I am going to be putting it on top of this here, and let's see how that all shakes out, if that works okay. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. Gotta take care of, I got some guests here. See, I'm not sure if that's gonna work. So, okay, see you in a bit. Hi, so welcome back to my messy desk here. And let's get going on some of the other items for this mini album. Sorry about that, I had guests come and the dogs were barking, so I apologize for that. I'll show you what I finished up a little bit while I was gone, and then we'll get going on some other areas. So when I left off yesterday, I was just finishing up this front part of the cover, and I ended up putting a piece of lace or ribbon on here, and also a magnet on either side. And then what this does is this comes down, this goes up, over, over, back, back. So I wanted it kind of like a pinwheel, and then I'll put paper down here in the middle, or we'll do something else in there. But I'm going to go ahead and build the rest of it. I've got some that I'm going to put papers down on, others I'm just going to build the brown part, and I'll come back and show you what colors or papers that I do put on it. So this goes down and down, and then this comes across. Now, one thing, remember when I put this down before and I had this one down on top of it? I'm not sure if you can see it, but I ended up cutting the hinge in half so that the hinge on this could move up and down, and the hinge on this part stayed close to the book. So I'm not sure if you can see that or not here, where my hinge is here, and I just cut it in half, and it worked beautifully. So we've got those go down, and then this, and then that holds everything down. And then this is our page that we had put together before I just tied the ribbon on it. And let's just see, I may have put papers down, I don't remember if we were together. Yes, and so I put these papers down. I don't think we were together when we did that. This is one paper cut in half, and then this is a whole 8x8 sheet, and I decided to put these down, and then on the front of here I think I might put pockets on here, or I may put kind of like corner pockets onto here. Not sure yet. I'm just going to let that until I get through some of the other pages. So this is one of the things with this book is I wanted to make sure to stay with a 2-inch hinge. And with that hinge, I wanted to make my pages have some flips and flops, but not too many that the book gets too full. So if we go over to here, my plan for this page, because this sticks up a little bit because of the the bow on the other side of the page. So what I had planned on doing was putting this paper down here, having this a flatter page, and then putting a book, not a book, but a flap or a mat right here, so that we can put a picture underneath that. But then there's also room, you can add other pictures or other things, or you can just enjoy this beautiful collection right there. So let's go ahead and let's get this down, and then we'll move on to the next sections that we're going to work on. It's really windy and gusty around here today. It's like, it sounds like it isn't, but it sounds like a winter blizzard out there. They say our temps are supposed to continue to go down below the 30s over the coming week. So then I'm going to put this down so that we are on the edge of about 1/8 of an inch, or 1/16 of an inch actually. Okay. I'm going to apologize again for my messy desk, but I thought it would be better to just keep going, and when I'm done with this, I'll clean everything up for that next project coming up. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put this one down. One thing that I need to do on this is to add a magnet to this as well. And we can do a magnet underneath here, or we could end up doing the magnet inside there. One of the things that I was thinking about is that if I put a magnet inside, I could leave some of this open, so if I wanted to tuck another tag or something in there, I could do that. So that's my plans. And this is my my score tape for my ribbon. And what I like to do when this is a little bit thicker, it's not real thick, but it's a little bit thicker than some of the other ribbons. So I want to take this and put this on both sides, only because it will then not make it so thick on one side of our booklet, but we still have our little little tab there to pull up. So, and as you can see on this paper, I am doing the vintage photo around the edges. I did vintage photo around the edges of this. I'm also going to go ahead and do vintage photo on this cardstock. Just want it to look really rustic. So let's get this down, and then we'll get our magnet on. Ah, see, look at that. I get going, and I almost completely forgot. So I'm going to do it just on these two sides. Or so I said, right? So we'll do that so we can still add tags or something in between there. And we're going to take that and make sure I'm straight. Let's see if I have some of the, since we're not going to do a ton of layers, I think I'm going to try my hand at the littler magnets. Let's see how it goes. Alrighty, come on. Put that on that side, then we'll take our minus, flip it off there. Where's my pick on my messy desk? Alrighty. So then we'll put that down. We've got our closure on there. The next thing that we want to put on here is we do want to put our paper on the front of that. And then I am going to put mats on the inside, but I'm not going to do that with us on camera. I can do that off camera. But those mats, let me measure this out again for you. I know the width is 4, but I think the length might be a little less than 4. So you'd be able to fit like a 4x4 photo in there. But let me measure that. Okay, so the top, the sideways, this is 3 3/4 by 4 or 8, and then it's scored in half, so it's 4 inches this way, and then around is 4 inches, so it is 3 3/4 by 8, and then folded in half, and that's what you'll make for our little flip-flap. All right, then the next page that we're going to go to is this page over here, and what I'd like to do on this page is we're going to put some papers down like this, and then we've got some pockets that I would like to put down here, and then I might put some photo mats over here, but otherwise I'm going to leave that plain or think about that a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So the pockets themselves, the measuring for them, there is, as you can see, they're scored 1/2 inch on either side and at the bottom of the pocket. I always like to do that because I like the way it gives more room to the pocket. So I have cut this, and I'm using these pieces from all the cutoffs that I did from all the other pages or inserts or things like that. So this is 4 by 3, and then again 1/2 inch on the bottom and 1/2 inch on both sides, and both of them measure the same. And then on this paper, the designer paper, I cut this at 3 1/2, and this is by 8, and this one is cut at 4 3/8. And the reason for that is because I wanted to have a little bit of a line in between there, so I wanted to scale it down just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and let's ink these pages. So who's all ready for Thanksgiving? Hopefully this is all up before Thanksgiving. That was my plan, but we'll see how that goes. We've got our hop coming up too over the Thanksgiving weekend, so I hope you get a chance to join us for that. Boy, this vintage photo doesn't show up very well on this yellowish colored paper. I can hardly see it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this mat down first because it's a little bit easier for me to see it and align it. Now, another thing just to show you, let's just say you are doing this side and you're having a hard time seeing it because of the colors of what you're using. Just take a lighter piece of your pattern paper or copy paper or something and just put it on here or underneath the pocket so that you can see the sides a little bit better. That's what I have to do many times when I'm putting some of my designer papers down because of it just gets to be too dark. And the unfortunate thing is that we use a lot of dark papers when we put the base of the album together, but part of it is because a lot of the times the darker base, the brown or the black, looks really nice with our pattern papers. It seems to really accent the colors in the collections. Okay, so we've got that one down. Now I'm going to turn this one this way, and I want to align it so that it matches on both sides, and it gives us a little bit of a line in between. And this will be a pretty simple page as well and not give us too much weightiness on it. And that gives us enough so that in the gusset is not, paper's not coming off on it. So then what we're going to do is take our pockets, and I also took from the pattern paper, there is I think there's 2 pages of the tags in the pattern paper, and I took them because I didn't want to really back them or spoil the images that were on the back of those tags. I decided to fold them in half. Oh, I can't seem to find one. Sorry, I can't find it. But anyways, so I decided to cut them out, and I just folded them in half, the one next to it. Then I punched a hole in there, and I cut off the angles on those, and I put some, I want to call them rivets. I can't even think of what they're called. That's the fun of getting old. You can't remember things anymore. So I'm going to put those in on this page, and I had some twine, really thin twine from my stash that came with another kit at one time, and so I think I'm going to use that for the ribbon or the ties on my tags. And don't know if I want to go singular on those or if I want to double them. I think we might double them. Let's try it and see what it looks like. Oh, that's not doubling. Don't think I cut enough to double it. Okay, single it is, because I'm not going to go back through and worry about all that. So we will put that through. And then we've got our little tag there, and I'll cut some of that off. And this one I don't think I'll make quite as big. And totally up to you whether you want to put string on this or not put twine on it. You could put a nice ribbon on there, would look good. I just happen to have this twine handy, so thought with the theme of Thanksgiving or October, pumpkins was a good tone or color for the tags. All right. Another event that we have coming up for Country Craft Creations is there is a New Year's Eve retreat, but that's been closed. But on top of that, there is a New Year's Eve hop, or like New Year's Eve celebration over the New Year's weekend so watch for that on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations for when that's all going on and who is going to be designing for that. Be very exciting. So believe me, you are going to have so many wonderful crafty projects coming up. It's just great. Okay. Boy. Even though those little, it looks like they're so big, the little metal inserts. They really aren't for putting this little twine through. So I'm going to cut that off. And then I think I'll cut all of these off. There we go. And we've got them all set for our tags. Now, one other thing that you can do with your tags, if you're concerned about the twine coming off, something that I often do is I put a little dab of glue in here, in the front or in the back, wherever you want to, and then that way it holds that the twine in there without, and you don't need much, just a little bit to kind of stick it to and hold it to, and it just won't make it so easy for it to come off. That's all. There we go. Got those all set. That goes off here, and let me just clean that off. So I'm going to take my first pocket, and I'm actually going to take it and put it down here a little bit further so there's a little bit of the paper out, and then we'll put this other one right up here. So when you're gluing this, make sure that your bottom tab is over your side tabs when you lay it down. Go. Same thing with the sky. Right, we'll tuck those in and put those down. They're pretty straight. Let me just so if we take these little tags, you can slip them right into here, and then we take these other little tags and we'll slide them into here, and they fit in here very nicely. And then we'll just get some, I'm going to use some of my scrap to put on there. And on this one, I am going to probably put some mats on here, or I might even just put one main mat through there, or maybe even a frame. I'm not sure. I'll come back and let you know what we're going to do with that. So then let's turn this over and let's go to our next page. On this page, one of the things that I'm going to be doing, let me see, on either side, I have got this page where I'm going to be doing some pull-up pieces to the pattern pages. And what I mean by that is this is going to be set so that these open up like this. And I cut 4 of them. So what I did is when I cut these 4, this is sized at 8 by 8 is a piece of paper. So then I scored it in half at 4 and scored it in half at 4. And then I took my explosion box board, and you can do this on your scoreboard and just go from corner to corner, but I love my explosion board for this because I can put that right up into here, and I can score right down the middle and then score down this side. And then when I fold this, this is going to flap in, and they're going to be flat like that. And so then when we put them in, they'll come out all like this. And we've got a spot to put pictures here, a spot to put pictures here that'll be 4 by 4. We can just do some pattern paper along the other pieces or sides. So I'm gonna work on getting this all put in, and then I will cover with the papers and show you what I ended up doing with that. So I was going to put it onto here, but I think I'm going to do it on this side only because it's actually easier for me to see it, to put it on this side. And I am going to, normally some people would think, well, aren't you going to put brown or pattern paper underneath it? I think I'm not going to, so that it will just hold this down as it needs to be, and we can make this so that nothing is showing, nothing white is showing in the middle. So these are, now you want to place these so that they all open to the middle. That's the #1 key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by gluing down my first one. And it's important for you to really make sure you score on these well so that you can get them as flat as possible. I'm not sure if I'm going to use magnets yet to hold it down. I don't think so. I have an idea of something I want to do, but and it does involve magnets, but I'll show you that when I get that part of this done. So then this is basically going to 1/16 off the end, and it will be pretty tight, close fit to this one. So the other thing that I made sure is that I didn't put it too much in the gusset so that we didn't have a problem with it being too thick. I've seen this type of folding for other things, and I thought this might be kind of fun on a page in my mini album, so I thought I would try it out. And if it works well, then we'll probably do it again. If it doesn't work so great, well, then I won't do it again. It's kind of how I look at it. The only way you know is if you try. It's not perfect, but just the way it goes, I'll do the best that I can. I like that I didn't do design paper underneath it because the brown somewhat melds into the brown itself. So it doesn't, if there's an error or something that's a little bit off, I believe that it won't show quite as much at the base. And as I said, I believe it won't. It maybe will, but I'm believing it won't. So then, once we have this whole section, oopsie, good thing I'm pulling that out. So then we pull this section all out, and we can do a couple different things. It can just be pulled out, and there could be pictures in there. There could be mats down here as well. Might end up being a little bit of a thicker piece, but otherwise it all closes down onto itself. And one of the things that I'm thinking about doing, yeah, I'm a little off there. One of the things that I was thinking about doing is doing a nice photo frame that sits right on the top of this and holds it down. So I can't cover these until I see how the photo frame is going to fit. So I'm going to leave these up and open for right now. And so, well, that's irritating. There we go. That's back in. So the reason why I didn't want to put magnets right inside here to hold these down is that I'm not really sure how it would really necessarily hold so well. And I thought what would be nice is to have either a frame over the top of here, or something that, you know, like a center piece of chipboard or something with a magnet on the back. But I thought the frame being a little bit bigger would give it more sturdiness to it, and we would have more room in this gusset here because we're not going to put anything too significant on this side, and got to think about what I'm going to do with that. So we've got this page to do over here, and we've got these 2 pages here to go ahead. Now we can do something with a little bit more depth on this page. Maybe this should be a little bit flatter, but pockets or side pockets I think will be fine too. So, well, that's the end for right now, and we will come back with another video, and I might do a couple things off camera, but I will come back to show you what we're doing for this page and these other 2 pages. And hopefully I'll have, I'm going to go ahead and build my photo frame for this page as well. So we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you so much. Bye.